As it launched once more on its fourth mission, the Falcon Heavy exhibited no signs of rust. 3 years have passed since it last put on a show that had everyone in awe. Even NASA is now astonished by SpaceX's inventiveness. When will Falcon Heavy make its next flight? Can we anticipate additional SpaceX launches in 2019? Welcome back to another exciting video from Informative Scoop. Today's video is about NASA scientists shocked by SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch. Before we start the video, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. We have everything, and reserve the launches best for last. The tall, three-pronged spacecraft known as the SpaceX Falcon Heavy is also the most powerful operational rocket on the planet. For the first time since 2019 went to space. On November 1st, the launch took place from Florida's Kennedy Space Center in the wee hours of the morning. The 50th space voyage of this year for SpaceX was this launch, a success neither NASA nor another commercial aerospace business can claim. The vehicle was utilized for the U.S. Space Force's Falcon on the extremely secretive U.S. SF-44 mission, the first operational mission for national security. The most recent mission in 2019 was the Pentagon's Space Test Program, in which the rocket launched experimental satellites. The mission's success allowed Falcon Heavy to be licensed in national security space launches. It carried out its first 3 missions flawlessly, with only minor setbacks on the launch pad and during liftoff. The U.S. SF-4 mission was supposed to launch more than 2 years ago, but several payload-related delays prolonged the mission's timeline. The Falcon Heavy was held because no other mission called for its capabilities. Among the payload carried during the mission was 2 Space LDPE-2, also known as the Shepard Demonstration Mission and Long Duration Propulsion Evolved. Expendable Launch Vehicle will launch satellites to advance many technologies, including communication and space weather. New vehicles that will hasten risk reduction efforts and improve proximity operations in safe REN will be tested by sensing the second vehicle. 9 minutes of the launch were all that SpaceX was permitted to webcast by the U.S. Space Force, but it was more than enough for everyone who wanted to watch the Falcon Heavy in action once more. However, a SpaceX spokesman warned that a double sonic boom would occur as the boosters landed on Landing Zone 1 and Landing Zone 2 over 9 seconds. First-time Falcon twin boosters helped launch the rocket into orbit before being separated from the upper stage center core and payload and propelled back toward the Florida landing grounds. Less than 8 minutes after takeoff, the 2 boosters landed close one after the other. The upper stage was detached from the disposable core booster, which continued to burn for 90 seconds before returning at a speed of 4 kilometers per second. Unlike the previous 2, SpaceX had no preparations for collecting it, so it ran out of fuel on the way back and splashed into the ocean, where it was found. Those in attendance at the launch witnessed a 230 feet tall rocket with powerful 27 Merlin engines, ability to generate 5 million pounds of force. As the most powerful rocket in existence right now by a factor of 2, Falcon Heavy has a payload capacity of 64 metric tons, more than twice the payload of the nearest operational vehicle, Delta V Heavy. This is the equivalent of an 18 Boeing 747. For comparison, Falcon Heavy can launch a Boeing 737 airplane into space along with its passengers, luggage, and fuel. SpaceX's first geosynchronous launch is the geosynchronous USSF-44. This indicates that the Falcon Heavy launched the military cargo into a geosynchronous orbit 22,400 miles above the planet's surface. For those unaware, the term geosynchronous refers to an orbital velocity identical to the Earth's rotational speed at that altitude. It is a well-like position for communication and Earth observation satellites that desire to survey the same region simultaneously. The Falcon Heavy performed all the work for the direct-to-geo launch. The rocket's upper stage may have executed a second fire to achieve the desired orbit after reaching a parking orbit in a low Earth orbit. It will continue operating for 5 to 6 hours while performing a complex ballet of temperature management and tank pressure maintenance to preserve all of its cryogenic liquid oxygen or logs from boiling into gas, and it keeps refined kerosene from turning into a useless sludge by freezing. Before the payload is deployed and the Falcon Heavy's upper stage enters a circular geosynchronous orbit, it must escape the radiation bands surrounding the Earth. This might take up to an hour, after which the upper stage performs at least 2 other burns to advance to its ultimate location, a few hundred kilometers from the geosynchronous orbit. Upcoming flight. When will the Falcon Heavy rocket appear next? The upcoming launch date is now mostly unknown, but it might occur shortly. Joy of Space supporters say the upcoming trip might take off as soon as December. The Space Force might use the Falcon Heavy to launch yet another armed satellite, or start the first of 3 high-bandwidth communication launches by launching a communication satellite for Viasat. A SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch for a sizable telecom satellite between 2020 and 2022 was reserved by Viasat in 2018. Viasat will try using Falcon Heavy for its satellite launches for the second time in this effort. Due to difficulties with Falcon, he switched its Viasat 2 satellite from European launch company Arianespace to Ariane 5 in 2016. Regarding Starlink's Rule Digital Opportunity Fund Award, Viasat and SpaceX are at odds. Starlink, according to the corporation, did not adhere to the specifications. On the other hand, SpaceX responded vehemently to what it described as a mistaken effort by Viasat to insert itself. SpaceX contended in the commission's staff analysis that Viasat didn't have a genuine issue and only wanted to eliminate all competition for its legacy T. But as SpaceX prepares for its upcoming mission in anticipation of their arrival, everything is now water under the bridge. During the company's financial results call via satellite on November 8th, CEO Mark Dinger stated that the company is collaborating with SpaceX to set a deadline for the launch in the earliest part of the 2020 quarter. On November 8th, the company released a statement stating that it won't be ready to launch with SpaceX this year. The high-priority U.S. missions that use the Falcon Heavy will determine how this plays out. A classified payload for Space Force is anticipated to be launched into space as soon as January 2023, as opposed to the December launch date for Viasat that many had hoped for. Falcon's next launch will take place in 2020, the Space Systems Command announced shortly after the November 1st flight. 3 weeks after the launch of U.S. Space Force Mission U.S. Space Force 67, the military announced that 2 of the rockets used to propel the U.S., assuming that the consistent timeline is deliberate and not the result of a breakdown in communication with SpaceX. The U.S. Space Force is still optimistic that Falcon Heavy will be ready in January or February of next year. This is good news, then. It demonstrates that SpaceX could salvage the old rockets, carefully examine each booster, and repair any damage without too many problems. After the most recent mission, USS F-67 would have reported any booster issues that were found be postponed. It also demonstrates that Falcon Heavy technology can be enhanced to create a more reusable rocket. The performance and usefulness of Falcon Heavy have stayed the same in the 40 months since it was locked away. People were more enthusiastic about launching the first Starship after witnessing the impressive Falcon Heavy launch. Despite the Falcon Heavy not being used again, NASA's December schedule for the initial orbital launch has stayed the same. Space enthusiasts still have something to look forward to. It will be a short mission from the Boca Chica facility of the Starbase, and SpaceX is already ready to finish its last test before taking off. This will be the first time that all 33 of the Starship's engines will be lit at once, and all 33 engines must perform a simultaneous bench burn. The rocket will also be tested, and the modifications for refueling will be done. This will be a significant turning point for the aerospace sector, not just for SpaceX. Everyone is eager to see what the Starship is capable of. We anticipate seeing more Starship and Falcon Heavy if all goes well. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content.